for the Project Homeless Connect, and she's doing a lot of great work here in the city. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Okay, tell us all about Project Homeless Connect. Excuse me.
Well, the Capital Area Coalition on Homelessness has a service they do, which is called Project Homeless Connect. And what it is this will be the third annual one we'll be having this year. It'll be held at the Farm Show on September 28th from 9 to 4. And what it is we have all our member organizations come together, and we try to bring all the services that the homeless could possibly need into one area to kind of help them jumpstart getting themselves back into society and being successful. And a lot of times the thing that keeps them from being able to get back in is not having the proper identification or things, or not having access to doctors or different types of care because they don't have the proper identification. So on that day, we try to provide those things.
And who can come? Is anyone can attend?
As long as you are homeless and you can attend. And we're seeking volunteers to come help work in that area. You can contact me, or we're also just looking for people who don't have a permanent place to stay.
Okay, and so, you know, that's a tough job to go out there and find the folks. Of course, if they don't have a place to stay, oftentimes they're not connected to the information. So how do you get the word out and let people know that in, say, a show like this, to get out into the streets and say, hey, you know, you really need to come to this program?
Well, we're really aggressive in how we try to get the word out. One of the first things we do is we put up flyers and things in the areas where the homeless usually congregate, where downtown Daily Bread, where they go for their meals and showers, and information in places like that, places where they kind of tend to hang out during the day, the library and other places. Also, the outreach section from the YWCA of Greater Harrisburg, they go out to campsites and leave bags of food with notices, and then go back to check to see if those campsites are active, and then they talk with the people. Wow. So we're really aggressive. Also this year, we'll have 2 billboards located around the city advertising this event.
Fantastic. Now, the event's on the 28th of September.
Yes.
And it's going to be located where again? At
the Farm Show.
Okay, so everybody knows what the Farm Show is.
Yes.
Okay, we got to get them there. Now, we have transportation?
Yes, we will. There are flyers up and about the city telling you where you can catch the shuttle that will pick you up and take you there. Also, this year we'll be having pet care. So if you have an animal, you're homeless and you have an animal with you, that's a population that's very hard to reach because they tend not to come out because they don't want to leave their pets. We will have veterinary care there for your animals and supplies for your animals. So bring them in so that they can get checked, so we can make sure that your animals are also okay. And there will be transportation provided for your animals.
When people speak of homelessness, they think of people in the streets, you know, living with nowhere to go. They think of shelters, such as you have the YWCA where you work.
Yes.
And then you have Bethesda Mission.
Yes.
You know, there's
Shalom House. There's a lot of shelters around.
But there's the invisible homeless too, those who live with relatives or friends for a period of time, but they really don't have anywhere to go. Is that right?
Yes, we call them doubled up. When you're staying with somebody and you're kind of couch surfing, staying here tonight and there tomorrow night, or you're staying with somebody but you're really not on their lease. So now you're putting everybody in the household in jeopardy of being evicted because you're not supposed to stay there. We're also looking for them. They can come out also.
Okay. So how you know, this is a big problem all over the country. How big of a problem is it here in Harrisburg, central Pennsylvania area? Give us some idea of what we're talking about.
It's pretty substantial here in this area. What we try to do is we try to go out. We have a one time in the year where we go out and we do the point in time survey, where we go out and then within a 24-hour period, we try to make contact with all the homeless individuals, kind of get some documentation on them, where they came from, where they're going, where they're staying, and what services they've had access to, just to kind of get a count of how many are out there. And then, of course, we have all the frontline workers who are constantly out there talking to them, trying to make sure that they're okay and make sure we meet their needs.
Is it true that on a typical day, almost all the shelters in the Harrisburg area are full?
That's true.
Yeah, and so
That's
a person
true.
that is now newly homeless or whatever, generally they don't have a lot of options in terms of the shelters. Is that right? Yeah.
That's right.
So what can we do about it? What else can be done?
Well, as you enter into a shelter, you end up getting a case manager who works with you aggressively to kind of give you an opportunity to see where you are, where you want to go, and help you put steps in place to get yourself from state of homelessness to being housed. And so they're very aggressive with the plans and the things that they come up with to kind of help you move forward in your life. And so they take a look at everything. And then some shelters, especially the YWCA of Greater Harrisburg, they have programs that are a little more long term. They help you move from a place of homelessness into a situation where you're there, you have intensive case management, kind of helping you rebuild yourself and get yourself back into society, and then they send you out. And there's some other programs that have those types of programs also.
In the YWCA, the program that you work with, a person can stay there up to how long?
You can stay in the emergency shelter for 30 days.
Okay.
And then they have programs transitional and bridge, which you can stay in a year or more, and they kind of help you rebuild your life.
But many of the shelters, though, do they all have those programs, or most of them like 30 days or 60 days?
Well, 30 days
like
is the typical stay. And what it is, it's enough time for you to kind of catch your breath, but also put a plan in place to kind of help you be able to see where you want to go, what you need to do to be able to move yourself forward.
Yeah, and it always concerned me because if my wife were here today, she would tell you that we have a program that she runs through Dauphin County Drug and Alcohol, which is called Strengthening Families, and one called Celebrating Families. And we would, bring families in together, and they would, do a 16-week program. And we found out that some of them were actually homeless. They were in shelters, or they were, like I said, doubling up, and their stay was very temporary. And they were really panicking as to, where do I go now? And good thing is that most of them did land on their feet. Like you said, if they have a good plan, or they, have a, some path. But some of them are they're concerned because of sleeping in cars or whatever.
Well, the ones who are in the shelter, they have case managers in place whose sole job is to help you come up with a plan to sustain yourself and your family in the next coming days. The 30-day window is just because there are a lot of people trying to come in, and there's not really that many spaces. But also, we want you to understand the urgency of moving you from where you are to where you need to go. And for the most part, as they leave this care, they usually have somewhere to go. It's very rare that they leave and they have nowhere to go. Sometimes people need to go into drug and alcohol programming or some other type of living arrangement. Some people move in with family members or move back to wherever they came from or provide housing for them. It just depends on each person and their circumstances, because every person's situation is different.
Yeah, but it's tough. It isn't.
Yes, it's tough.
And I know you guys, you as case workers, case managers, you do a tremendous job. Thank God for you, okay, for all the work you do. But I know that the families and we're having more and more families lately in the last, few years, this problem's gotten out of hand. Tavis Smiley, Cornell West have been on this for a while in terms of talking about how, the poor has gotten poorer, and then there's the newly poor.
Right.
Those of us who are in the middle class, quote unquote, living paycheck to paycheck, and then all of a sudden, boom, the bottom falls out, and there we are.
Just
so
one thing, yes. You're going along fine, you're making it paycheck to paycheck, and then the furnace breaks down, or your car breaks down. It's that one thing that throws you off your stride, and then you're having a difficult time recovering. Those are things that usually happen, and you usually get behind in your rent, because that you need the lights, you need the gas, you need the food, so you forego the rent, and then catching up. You always think that you'll be able to catch up at the next check, but then there are other things. So that's kind of like the thing that tends to happen.
Now, the Project Homeless Connect is part of a larger, coalition. Talk about the coalition.
Yes, the coalition, Capital Area Coalition on Homelessness, has over 60 member organizations from all over the capital area. And we all come together and try to work on these issues that face each and everyone in Harrisburg and the Dauphin County area. And we're all be coming together on the 28th at the farm show. There'll be housing, there'll be medical, there'll be if you need to see the doctor, if you need to see the dentist, you need to see a podiatrist. A lot of times living out there on the street, you have bad feet, or you're not taking care of yourself. You can get a haircut. There's just a lot of services. Food will be provided, and there'll be evaluations, mental, whatever you need. Whatever you need is, if you need your driver's license or your social security card or your birth certificate, all those things we'll be able to help you get those things together, because you can't do anything unless you have documentation or your information.
Okay, so, and you said they have to be homeless.
Yes.
Okay, so do they have to bring documentation proving that they're in that situation, or how do they do it?
No, a lot of times, they're known to different case managers or whatever, but just come, we'll take you through the process and kind of help you try to see where you are. We'll do a quick evaluation, try to see what your needs are, and then take you through the process, because it's a lot of steps, but each person will go through it in a different way depending on what their circumstances.
There was I can't think of it right now, but it's a simulation. It's a project where you're taking people through, like you're really challenged, you're, poor, and you have to go through a typical day. You familiar with what I'm talking about? I know they did it at the Harrisburg School District once, and I went through it. It is eye-opening. A lot of things I already knew, and then some things that you just tend to forget about, and it's like, wow, it's tough. So a person out there who's trying to get a job, a person out there who doesn't have transportation, a person out there who has children to worry about, and they're homeless, and all these other things, like you said, medical could be a problem. They may have bills, and the bill collectors coming at them, or
right, or
warrants, or whatever.
I got evicted from your place, or you lost your place, whatever, but you lost your identification. Or you're sleeping outside, you left your bags when you thought were a safe place, somebody came along and threw them away.
Yeah.
Now you have no identification proving who you are. And that is the hardest thing you have to get, but you don't have any money. So how can you get your new identification? There's just a lot of things that kind of keep you from regaining your status in society. And we want to help you through those obstacles and kind of help you get yourself back to where you need to be. We want you to know that you're not alone, that these 60 plus member organizations of the Capital Area Coalition of Homeless are here for you and want to work with you, and we'll all be there on that day trying to help you get your needs met.
Do you think that the typical citizen of Harrisburg, or of the United States for that matter, who's doing okay, they're doing okay, they're quote unquote the middle class, they're the upper middle class, whatever, educated, have money, have homes, do they get it? Do they understand how tough it is out there for most people who are in this situation?
I don't think they really get it. I think awareness is coming, but it's coming slowly. And awareness really does not come until it directly affects you or yours. And then you get an eye-opening experience of what people go through on a daily.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, and so many people in that situation end up in systems. They end up in the criminal justice system. They end up in, the welfare system, or whatever, you would call it here. And it just goes on and on and on. And then it's hard, like you said, to dig yourself out. Are the churches involved to the level that you are comfortable with saying that the churches are doing all that they can do?
As part of Capital Area Coalition on Homeless, we have churches involved. We have the faith-based organization with Helen Spence involved, and they're working. I think the churches are taxed also, because that's the first place people usually go when they need help. They go to their churches and ask the churches for help. But churches really aren't in that role this year, at this time period, to be able to help in that area. So everybody's looking for outside resources. Can they help more? Always. Everybody can always step up more. But I have to say, as member partners of Capital Area Coalition on Homeless, we do have the faith-based, and they are working.
I work for the United Way of the Capital Region, and I work as a community impact manager. How deeply involved has the United Way been involved with this effort over the years? Well,
the United Way is right there from the beginning. United Way is very supportive. They're always there lending a hand. They have somebody who sits on the board, Tim Whelan, who works and kind of undergird us in different areas. So they're also a very big resource for us in terms of things that we need, or being able to help us make connections to find things that we need.
Let's talk about the schools for a minute, because obviously if we're talking about children, the children have to go to school. Okay, so how does homelessness affect children who are in the school systems?
Well, basically, if you're homeless in this school district, but the place you end up staying over in this school district, you're allowed to, the law dictates that you're supposed to be able to go back to the school district that you left. Okay. So there's always a transportation issue trying to get the student back to the school that they originally belong in. Just the whole pressure of coming home and not knowing where home will be tonight, but having to be able to do homework and things of that nature, being clean and ready to go to school on the next day. Harrisburg School District and other school districts do have a person in there designated as the case manager for the homeless, and they have programs in place, and they are also a part of the Capital Area Coalition on Homeless. And they're working hard to try to give these children the things they need to be able to continue on while their families going through this crisis.
Is it a fair assumption that some children who are in school, because of confidentiality laws and stuff like that, are not known to be homeless?
Oh, definitely. Especially in the African American community, you've been taught that you don't talk your business. So a lot of times they're homeless and nobody has a understanding, because they don't talk about it. They don't go in and say, oh, we lost our place, or we don't have a place to live, or different. It's up to then sometimes the teachers catch there's a change in the student, or a change in that student's behavior or demeanor. They're not as happy as they were, or whatever. And then we try to work together to see what we can do to help them.
Okay. And when you say we work together, will the schools contact, say, your agency, for example? And
yes,
say,
we have a point of contact with the Harrisburg School District. We work together. They have a whole coalition within each school district of different people who are set aside to work with the homeless population.
You know, I'm a poet, and I've been doing poetry for a long time. One of my favorite poets is Jason Moffett, who is a fantastic poet here in the Harrisburg area. And he did a poem that we always call one of his signature poems called Suburban Ghetto Blues. And he talks about how you can be living in the suburbs and have a nice home, but basically still have struggles, you know, and people don't know it because they say, well, you live in the suburbs, you have a nice home. He said, next thing you know, boom, you find yourself out. He said, and there's a lot of that going on now in terms of, it always has, that hidden, you know, poverty that even, you know, invades the suburbs. Have you noticed that as well?
Yes, as a case manager, I go out to different homes and check on people in different places. And I've gone up to some beautiful homes and walked inside. There was nothing inside. You know, so people are struggling all around. It doesn't matter. You know, the outward appearance doesn't always show the truth of what is really going on inside.
Yeah, yeah. You know, we have an organization called Doctors Without Borders, I think it's called, and they go all over the world and they do fantastic work. But oftentimes, right here in America, right here in our own backyard, we have a lot of people whose health care is just so horrendous because they can't afford to go and they just don't go. And so how does the coalition help with that? I know you mentioned addressing this on September the 28th, but what are some of the things you do here?
Well, on that day, you know, we have Pinnacle, we have Hershey Medical Center, we have Hamilton Health Center.
Wonderful.
We have a lot of people coming together to kind of help us on that day. It'll be the Rotary, the doctors from the Rotary. We'll have doctors, we'll have nurses. You'll be able to get flu shots. A lot of those things that you just don't have access to. Again, this year you'll be able to see the dental assistant. They'll be able to examine you. If you need further care, then you'll be referred out to get further care. Just all those things. This is the first year we'll have a podiatrist there because there's a big need with a lot of people to be able to see what's going on with their feet after all that walk-in. Sometimes they don't sit down and rest or things. We just we're trying to bring all those areas together to be able to help meet the need of the person. So as you come in, we want to meet the whole need of the person. Also, there'll be spiritual care. We want to look at the person totally and see what we can do to help them.
That's beautiful. You know, Rafika Muhammad, who is within Gaza Incorporated, brought to attention, you know, amongst other people, the fact that oftentimes when you're poor, the dietary thing really goes out the window. You know, a lot of us, we may eat poorly, period, but some people forced to eat only what they have in front of them. And so a lot of children in particular, they find themselves eating a lot of carbohydrates and stuff like that, getting hardly no fresh fruits and vegetables on their plate, basically because of where they live and what they have, you know, at their disposal. So how do you address those kind of things as well? I mean, are the schools involved with that whole nutrition thing? And
well, on that day, Center Plate from the farm show, they will be providing breakfast and lunch, and it will also be providing a take-home meal provided by the food bank, Central Pennsylvania Food Bank, and some others for them to take home, so they will have something to take back with them on the weekend to be able to try to get them through to the weekend. Also here in the area, there are several places around the city where you can go and get yourself a hot, nutritious meal. And we'll also be providing information to make sure everybody knows of those places where they can go and get a balanced meal every day of the week.
Isn't it sad, though, and I'm so glad you know, this is happening and that you're here to talk about it today, but so many people who are in trouble, who are in a situation where they really need to know where, you know, certain things are, they don't know. And they don't know because, you know what, well, it didn't affect me at the time. And now that they're being affected, they don't know where to turn. Yeah, it's sad that in all these agencies or organizations really exist and have for a long time. Downtown Deli Bread you mentioned and so many others. And there were people who say, I didn't know that it was even there. They didn't know. Right,
because a lot of times until something directly affects you, like, you know, different diseases or things, you don't know, you don't have any prior notice. But then when it hits home, when it hits you or someone that you love, then you start digging and you find out the information. And most people go, oh, I didn't know this service was available. I didn't know that service is available. But there are people in the 60-plus member organizations of the Capital Area Coalition on Homeless are working hard to help eradicate homelessness here, or at least, you know, working hard to give those people who are in that situation hope.
Yeah, beautiful. I know that Contact Helpline has a wonderful publication that they put out. You have to buy it and that's, and I understand that. But it is exhaustive. It's very good. But where would the average person turn to get information on a daily? You know, is it the phone book? Is there a hotline?
Well, you know, you can always go to the library and use the internet for free. You can go to the Capital Area Coalition on Homelessness website. We have all those things listed. All of it's out there for you, readily available. If you go to Downtown Deli Bread, they have those resources. Different places, different food banks, different places where they go to eat have that information readily available. On that day, we'll be handing out Our version of the information contact helpline it'll be a small pamphlet given to everybody. It talks about where you can go for shelter, where you can go for clothing vouchers, where you can go for furniture vouchers. It gives you the dates and the times of all the places where you can go and get a meal and where you can go and get help.
And a lot of information is on the website also for the United Way to Capital Region.
Yes.
And they have put out a wonderful little booklet called Surviving Tough Economic Times.
Okay.
That has a lot of contact information there as well. And anyone that's interested can always call, United Way to Capital Region at area code 717-732-0700. Again, that's 732-0700. I just want to throw that out there because it's free information, and we surely know people need it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what got you into this field? How long have you been in the field, too, by the way?
I've been in the field a little over about 5 or 6 years. We started with my church, Full Gospel Evangelistic Ministry of Harrisburg, where the pastors are Pastor Joseph Linder. We started an outreach mission called Helping Hands Missions Ministry.
Yeah.
And it had a twofold purpose. We wanted to work on missions abroad, which I'm a missionary to Haiti, and then we also wanted to work at home. And the mission field we picked was homeless. And we were looking around and we saw that people were already feeding them and we didn't have a place to house them. So we looked for that area in which we could help. And so we started partnering with some of the churches, going in while they were feeding and handing out hats, handing out personal toiletry kits that included about 15 or 20 things, kind of things just, that you need while you're out there. You don't always have a toothbrush, clean pair of socks, a bar of soap, wash rag. We started providing those things. And then I was introduced to the Capital Area Coalition on Homeless. I started attending their general membership meeting and working with them. And eventually, I ended up on the executive board and just been working with them since then. And through them, they partnered with the YWCA of Greater Harrisburg, and that's where I'm housed and that's where I work out of. And we just do case management and try to help follow up on the people and see what's going on for them and kind of walk them through the steps to getting back to being successful.
That's fantastic. And there's so many people who volunteer, who just come in and they just say, I just want to do this. You did, right?
Yes.
And just want to get it done. If someone is out there and they're saying, you know what, I think I'd like to get involved, how can they get involved?
You can get involved by just calling me, Angela Wise, at the YWCA of Greater Harrisburg, 234-7931, extension 3006. Again, that's 234-7931, extension 3006. We are still looking for a lot of volunteers to come out and help us on September 28th, to be ambassadors, to walk around with our guests and help them get through the process. So if you're interested, please just call the YWCA of Greater Harrisburg and ask for Angela Wise. It's the one on Market Street, and we'll be able to help hook you up.
And the 28th is a Saturday, is that right?
It is a Friday.
It's a Friday.
It's a Friday
Okay.
because a lot of times the things we need to do has to take you to government offices. And so we need to have it on a weekday when the offices are open.
Got you. Okay, very good. So I want to make sure about that. And so if people want to, they may have to take off a day of work, or maybe their jobs will release them and let them go out and
like
help.
some people participate in a day of caring, or they have other things where they're allowed to go out and volunteer. We need volunteers so they can come.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, hats off to the United Way to Capital Region. Heidi Newhouse coordinated the recent Day of Caring that just took place through the United Way, and a lot of agencies and our community was better for it. For that one day, so many companies sent their employees out to do a great work, and it's always a good thing. Angela, this is a tremendous topic, and I'm so glad you took time to come on today to talk about this. Again, I know that there's so much being done. But there's some things that still need to be done. If you had to sit here and tell us right now what else needs to be done, what would you say needs to be done, and how can we help with that?
Well, for our event, we still need water bottles, plastic water bottles to be able to put in the take-home packages. We need some blankets, and we need some other things. You can go to our website, www.cach.org, and look and see we have a list of needs. Or again, you can call me at the Y 234-7931 and find out ways. Again, we need volunteers. I just want to thank Messiah College and HAC for lending us their students to be able to come. Also, Hershey Medical Center sending their nursing students to come and be volunteers and help on that day. But we still need plenty of volunteers. Okay,
fantastic. And beyond September the 28th, you still need volunteers.
Yes, we still need volunteers because there's going to be a lot of follow-up care from this day on the 28th because each person that comes through gets a follow-up so that we can make sure we met their needs on that day or continue to meet their needs. So there's going to be a lot of help needed in those next days. So I'll be looking for interns or people who just want to come volunteer their time to help be able to wade through all these applications and just be able to help.
You know, oftentimes I'm always amazed that people find themselves in a situation where they're just almost like desperate. And I'll say to them, well, where's your support system? You know, where's your family? You know, your church family, your friends, your coworkers, whoever, you know, and they just seem to be so alone. And oftentimes, you know, it's either self-inflicted, I'm so alone because I won't reach out to other people, or people just won't help, you know. What do you find is the best way to say almost, you know, prove yourself from finding yourself in that situation? What can people do as a family unit to help one another in these tough economic times?
Well, it's you know, when things first start going down, let somebody know what's going on with you. Find somewhere to talk, somebody to talk to. Somebody might be able to point you in the right direction before you lose your home, lose your place, or whatever. There are programs out there to help. And you just want to make sure that you let somebody know what's going on. A lot of times you don't want to say what's going on with you. You're embarrassed or just whatever. You know, reach out to your church. If you don't have a church home, find a church home. Reach out so, you know, they can come in and kind of help support you. Support is not always financially. Sometimes it's just having a mentor.
Yes.
Somebody will help point you in the right direction. There are a lot of mentoring programs out there. And so they want to help support you and get you back into that place of being successful.
Excellent advice, and I hope more people will you know, heed that advice, because, you know, the truth of the matter is, if all of us pull together, you know, none of us really have to fall.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, oftentimes we fall because either, like I said, it's either self-inflicted or some barriers, you know, perceived barriers or real barriers, whatever. But it's so unnecessary. It's so unnecessary, and thank goodness for people like yourself and others who have created this wonderful coalition, and now they're going to put on this wonderful event on September the 28th at the Farm Show.
Yes.
From
9 to 4.
9 to 4. That's
Yes.
a long time, and let's just make it happen, okay?
Yes.
Well, thank you so much again. And for those of you who are watching the show, look, there's so many things going on in the community. One thing I want to tell you about is October the 6th, down at the State Museum of Pennsylvania. Nathaniel Gaston, that's me, Writer's Workshop. We have a thing called the Writer's Workshop. And we're sponsoring a full day free of a authors conference and a writers conference as well. And we're going to have free vendors for anyone selling their books and stuff like that, because we want you to meet these authors. We're going to have workshops on how to become a published writer. And it's just a wonderful thing to you know, to take part in. Again, it's October the 6th, which is a Saturday. It's from 10 to 4, and it is free at the Pennsylvania State Museum of Pennsylvania, and that's 300 North Street in Harrisburg. And we sure hope that you'll come down and bring your family with you. It's a family event, and we're going to have a lot of fun. There's some great things going on. The thing is, when you come out, when you get involved with the coalition.
Yes.
Make sure that there are people out there who know that you care, and let your church know that it can be done, because your church certainly made it happen.
Yes.
And also, if you know that there's some young people in school who need assistance, assist them. Let the school know about it. Okay. Thank you so much for watching Life Esteem, and we're going to see you next time here on Life Esteem. Have a blessed day.